Hello. Now that I have my window located in the walls that I have extruded before, I'm going to have to make the hole, the opening within the wall. So because the wall has the opening all through, so it's not just half an opening or so, it's a full opening from outside to inside, I have made this rectangle to be bigger or a bit deeper than the wall from both sides, the inside and the outside of the space. Next is I'm going to apply the changes that I need to make on this hole. Now, the first thing we need to do is talk about the Boolean function. The Boolean function is BOOLEAN. Now, this Boolean function works whenever we have two intersecting objects. It starts reading the intersecting part as a third object, and then we ask it to play with it or to do things with it. So right now, what I wanted to do is to read this space right here as a third space that I want to cut or trim from the original object. And that's why we need to go with Boolean. So it's similar to the trim part in the 2D drawings, but right now, because we're working with 3D objects, we have to use Boolean. Now, Boolean has multiple functions. If I use Boolean union, for instance, that means it is merging or joining these objects as one object. So this red object becomes the same as the blue object, inseparable objects. Now, this is not what I want to do. Instead, I want to have a subtraction, which means it's the Boolean difference function. So right now, I'm going to choose Boolean difference instead of Boolean union. And then you can see that it says, select the surfaces or poly surfaces to subtract from. So which one is the bigger surface that you want to make the hole in? And that would be the red wall right here. And then it says, select the surfaces or poly surfaces to subtract from, press enter to continue. So right now I'm going to right click on my mouse button, or I'm going to hit the enter button on my keyboard. Then it says select the surfaces or poly surfaces to subtract with. So what is the part that you want to subtract? And I'm going to choose this blue box right here. And I'm going to right click because it says press enter when done. Now you can see that the blue box disappeared, and I'm left with the opening of the window that I have made. Now I'm going to delete this square or box that I drew before, that I used to extrude the window. You can do the same. You can repeat the process across all of your windows and openings in the space. Now, there will be times, and you will probably have that opening of the door. Now, because somehow something went wrong with my file, my doors were not touching. So the door lines were not touching the edges, and therefore it read it as a whole object. But if you drew your file correctly, you will end up with something that looks like this. I'm just constructing the door like you would have had it while you were working. I'm just going to construct it and get back in a minute. Okay, so you will probably end up with an opening like this wherever you had a door in your AutoCAD plan. And to fix that opening is very simple. I'm going to start a new layer by pressing on this white sheet right here. And I'm going to call it doors. But before I move to the doors layer, I'm going to have to construct the wall on top of the door, because the door does not reach the ceiling. So I need to construct the wall on top of it. To do that, I'm going to go back to the walls layer and make it the active layer. And then I'm going to click on rectangle and simply draw a rectangle from this corner to this corner. Next is I'm going to extrude this curve, again, solid, extrude planar curve, straight, and I'm going to select the rectangle that I just drew right now, make sure that solid is capped or solid is yes. And then I'm going to extrude it downwards instead of upwards, because if I go upwards, I'm extending beyond the ceiling level. So I'm going to extrude downwards. And now I'm going to have to do some simple math. The height of the ceiling is 3,200. The height of the door is 2,000 millimeters. So the gap between the top of the door and the ceiling level is around 1,200 millimeters. So I'm going to type 1,200 and make sure that I point my mouse or my cursor towards the direction of the extrusion, which is below the starting point of my extrusion or below the curve. And I'm going to click on enter. Now you can see that I have this piece of wall on top of my door. So I have the door opening nicely placed. However, this is a part of the wall and it has to be united with the rest of the wall. So all of this has to be one object. To do that, I'm going to go back to the Boolean function again. This time, I'm going to go for Boolean union and not difference because I'm not making a subtraction. On the contrary, I'm making an addition. So I'm going to press on Boolean union so that I wanted to unite this piece with the rest of the walls. And then I'm going to right click and you can see that now this whole thing is one piece of object or one object resembling everything that is walls in my drawing. So that's it for now. In the next tutorial, we're going to talk about how we can introduce the plane of the glass and the plane of the door. Please keep watching and have a good day.